Welcome, friends, and welcome back to 1 Minute Animal. About 250 million years ago, our Earth was going through a phase so terrifying that it is hard to even imagine today. All traces of life were being wiped from the planet. The sky was filled with toxic gases, and the ground was a landscape of lava and fire. This was the event known in the scientific world as the Great Dying, a massive catastrophe where 90% of all living creatures vanished from existence forever. At that time, the herbivores that ruled the land, like the Dinosaurs, were fighting for every single breath, while in the oceans, creatures like Pterosaurs were desperate for a single drop of safe water. Whether on land or in the sea, every creature realized their end was near, and the fear became reality. This massive destruction left the world desolate, but it is an unchangeable law of nature that where one species meets its end, another finds its beginning. From the ashes of these ancient creatures, new and unique life forms got the chance to rise, and these new creatures were none other than our dinosaurs. According to some estimates, after the Great Dying, it took Earth nearly 10 million years to recover and return to normal. That is such a long time that it is 4 million years longer than it took for us humans to evolve from apes. The reason for this delay was the massive amount of greenhouse gases released by volcanic eruptions, which caused the Earth's temperature to skyrocket. It is said that from the moment life first appeared on Earth until that point, this was the hottest era ever recorded. This intense heat and dry weather affected the vegetation severely. Plants growing in lakes and marshy areas began to die out. To survive in this hot and arid climate, trees had to change. Instead of trees with long, broad leaves, the landscape was taken over by conifers, trees with needle-like leaves and cone shapes. They adopted this form to minimize water loss. This evolution of plants began to turn the Earth back into a paradise, and life started to flourish once again. In this new paradise, two specific types of creatures began to crawl. First were our ancestors, the mammals known as Synapsids, which looked like small herbivorous rats. And the second were the carnivorous ancestors of dinosaurs, known as Archosaurs. These creatures began to thrive near rivers and streams on land, but entering the water was an invitation to death. This was because the saltwater oceans and freshwater lakes were ruled by temnosons, creatures that looked like crocodiles and behaved just as ruthlessly. They would swallow anything that came near the water. Because of this danger, Archosaurs and Synapsids had only one option: stay on dry land and try to dominate each other there. Initially, Synapsids established dominance on land because they were significantly larger than Archosaurs. But unfortunately, their reign did not last long. The Earth's temperature was constantly changing, and the Synapsids could not withstand the heat, leading to their gradual decline. On the other hand, the Archosaurs showed intelligence. To adapt to this changing climate, they developed a new evolutionary tactic called thermoregulation. Their skin was designed to absorb heat from the surroundings and release it when necessary. This allowed them to survive in the extreme heat. Along with this, their respiratory system, digestive system, and way of moving improved with every generation.
Archosaurs had strengthened their hold on land, but in the water, their own cousins, the Ichthyosaurs, had grown larger than them and were hunting them down. These water monsters became so powerful that they started snatching prey from the old predators, the temnospondyls. The result was that the old hunters vanished and these new creatures took over the oceans. Now for the Archosaurs on land, the situation was dire. If they went into the water, they became prey, and on land, food was becoming scarce. In this scenario, Archosaurs had only one option: speed. They had to catch their prey before their competitors did. This necessity changed their physical structure. The bones of their legs specifically the tibia and fibula, fused in such a way that they stopped crawling and started walking upright. Their necks became flexible, taking the shape of the letter S, allowing them to spot prey from a distance and strike without turning their bodies. When conditions improved slightly and prey became scarce, some archosaurs began eating plants along with meat. This is where their division began. Scientists split them into two groups, the ancestors of dinosaurs and the ancestors of crocodiles. The Earth was slowly calming down. The supercontinent Pangaea was taking shape and rainfall had returned. Vegetation and life were growing rapidly. During this time, some dinosaurs became completely herbivorous. They were called ornithischians. To digest plants and tough leaves, their teeth became flat and their stomachs grew larger. Their hip bones took on a shape similar to birds. On the other hand were the saurischians, which had a lizard-like hip structure and were carnivores or omnivores. It was from these that creatures like the T-Rex and the giant sauropods would eventually evolve. Nature's evolution didn't stop there. Due to increasing dangers on land, about 230 million years ago, some dinosaurs took another leap. They turned towards the sky instead of the ground, giving birth to Earth's first flying vertebrates, the Pterosaurs. Initially, they were small, but over time, they grew so massive that when they spread their wings, they occupied the space of 1.5 school buses. Now, dinosaurs ruled the land, giant sauropods dominated the trees, and pterosaurs owned the skies. In such a world, survival for our ancestors, the poor synapsids, became impossible. Death was dancing all around them. To save their lives, they chose a unique path. They decided that instead of fighting these giants, they would make themselves so small that no one would even notice them. They shrunk their size, and instead of coming out in the daylight, they began hunting insects in the dark of night. This was the moment the first mammalia forms, the true ancestors of mammals, were founded. Everything was going well. The golden age of dinosaurs was at its peak. But then nature took another turn. Millions of years ago, at the end of the Triassic period, Earth began preparing for another mass extinction. The continent of Pangaea began to break apart rapidly. Tectonic plates in the Atlantic region ruptured and massive volcanic eruptions began. The air was once again filled with toxic gases, and when the water vaporized by the lava's heat came back down, it fell as acid rain. This acid rain poisoned the rivers and oceans. Conditions became such that there was neither clean air to breathe nor safe water to drink. In the blink of an eye, most of Earth's creatures faced death once again. But who survived this catastrophe and who would rule the world next? That is a story for another time. If you enjoyed this detailed documentary video, don't forget to subscribe to 1 Minute Animal and hit the like button. See you in the next video.